Hello, Mel. Welcome. Welcome.
We are.
Yeah, here we are. You in beautiful Chicago, me in beautiful San Marcos, Texas. Uh,
Yay.
Hot again. And how about you?
Well, it was in the 70s here like 3 days ago, and it's unheard of for this time of year in Chicago. But then it got cold, it got down to the 40s. We had all those tornadoes and everything, but
Right.
now, it's supposed to warm up. We're leaving for St. Croix on the 10th, and we'll be gone until the 18th. But um, it's funny, we'll go down there, the temperature will be 80, it'll probably be 60s here. So it used to be when we'd go in February or March, it was really cold. I remember leaving here and it was like 10 below sometimes, and we'd get there and it's like, oh,
Wow.
warmth.
Oh my goodness. Wow. Wow. Well, that's amazing. No, that sounds wonderful that you get to do that and talk about travel. We're going to be talking about travel tonight, where different places around the world, places we visited, perhaps, it could be far or near that we've had spiritual experiences, maybe even paranormal normal experiences, or, in that, sometimes spooky or sometimes sacred.
There you go.
Yeah.
All
So
right, I'm ready.
a great topic, I think. Um, and so I know because we've had conversations before about some of your now you don't come across as being a paranormal investigator, but I do think you've had some amazing experiences. Do you want to
Yeah,
just share something?
I've done paranormal investigations.
Oh, you have?
Oh yeah, I love doing it, by the way. Gary and I have gone up to Milwaukee, and we were in Savannah, and we stayed in so-called haunted places. And people say, "Aren't you afraid?" My grandmother used to always say, "The dead ones won't hurt you; it's the live ones you got to worry about." And so I just thought it was an adventure, and it was like really cool. I was like, "Whoa," you know.
Yes.
Um, so we took when we were in Prague, we went into the city hall, into the dungeons, and there was well there was Prague wasn't bombed during World War II, but there was one errant bomb that hit, and it took out half of the city hall. The other end part was still intact, and when they didn't rebuild it, they bricked it up some way, but we still could go down into the dungeons. And uh like during the Protestant rebellion, they would take people down there, right before they were sentenced to death, and then they would hold them down there, and then they would take them out on the town square, and there's like little marks, and they would either hang them or behead them.
Oh my
And
goodness.
yep, so uh, it was kind of interesting that the guy was saying people come there and they feel this, they feel that, and I didn't really feel any spirit presence. What I did do is when I touched the wall, I started getting all these flashes. Like psychometry means
Yeah.
seeing through touch.
Yeah.
And I waited till we were out of the dungeon, and I said to the tour guide, he was dressed with a lantern, this long black undertaker coat, he was dressed for the part, make it spooky looking. And I said, I don't think it's haunted. I think it's residual energy. So the idea of that is that every object, there's things that are stored, like almost like a tape recorder.
Hmm.
And for those of us who are sensitive to it, we can touch it and feel it, and we can probably feel or see or hear things that happened there. And uh, it was residual energy, and it was really strong residual energy. And he was telling the story of some of the people who, had been down there. But I felt the executioner. I felt the executioner's story,
Wow.
and that was his job. But I thought, who would be in a job like that? And he wanted forgiveness for all the lives he had taken, but yet in those days they were considered criminals. Not that capital punishment is right, but it was interesting to hook into him. And he was
Wow.
working on, he needed to go to the light, and he had really been stuck for hundreds of years. So I remember I was just I felt the residual energy, but then I hooked into his spirit, but he wasn't haunting the place.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden I saw the symbol of him walking, and he walked into this bright light, and there was just this incredible sense of peace.
Wow.
So
Oh
yeah.
my gosh. That's beautiful.
Yep. So
Interesting.
that was my Prague story.
That's amazing. Yeah. Huh. Um, it reminds me a little bit. I've tried a few times to cross over people. Actually, I think it kind of comes natural for me.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
You just got to make sure that they that they um atone for, you know, the things they need to atone for, because otherwise, if you cross them over, some will refuse to go to the light. They're just not ready. They don't want to. Others can't because they haven't atoned yet. So you got to be careful with it, because you don't want to absorb that karma, and that's easy to do. So,
Oh,
but I always know, I ask my guides, I ask the angels and stuff. So I always know if they're ready to go into the light. Some just don't feel worthy to go to the light. And that was the thing with the executioner. He didn't feel worthy to go into
right.
the light.
Right. Yes, yes. Now, I don't know if you believe that humans can be animals, but
I'm sorry, say again.
I don't know if you believe that humans, as a human, me as a soul being, I can be perhaps an elephant.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
got it,
And
got it.
Hawaiian, they call it kinolao. I mean, shape-shifting. And
Okay,
so,
yeah.
absolutely.
Okay, good. So I was aware at one point that I was an elephant, and I saw myself as a bull elephant, and it's kind of a similar thing. The point I'm trying to make is I didn't feel worthy of going to elephant heaven because I hadn't protected the herd from the poachers.
Wow.
And so I did not want to go. And so I stayed back. And when somehow I was doing a meditation, I was doing some healing work in a meditation with somebody as a like a therapist actually. And so I saw myself as an elephant, and then I saw it was okay to go. Like I still was honored no matter, even if I couldn't protect the herd. And when I got there to the gate of this elephant area, there were so many elephants greeting me as an elephant that it was overwhelming. And I were so many to count, you couldn't count. They were shoulder to shoulders, too many to count. And it was overwhelming how many, the love and the acceptance and the celebration of me to finally going there. And then later I tried to do it again. I tried to just visit. I wasn't allowed because I wasn't in my elephant costume.
Correct. You weren't Ellie the elephant anymore.
That's right.
It's amazing you brought up elephant, because when I was in Africa last summer, um, there was this elephant, and what they'll do is they'll do a false charge. So they'll like paw off the ground like this. They'll swing
Trunk.
their trunk. Thank you. A senior moment. They'll swing their trunk, then they'll fan their ears. Now he didn't trumpet, but I said to the driver, I said, that elephant is going to do a charge. He said, it's called a false charge. And what they'll do is they'll run forward for about 5 or 6 feet, and then they'll stand, and then they'll do the same behavior. And they'll do that a couple times. And if you don't move, they can chase you for 3 miles up to 35 miles an hour. So as soon as I said that, this elephant, and I got his picture, and a friend of mine's an artist, and she painted it. It was really cool. And that elephant did the false charge. And we took off, and he just kind of looked at us and went back. But when that happened, my guides tell me that's a power animal. That was one of your power animals. And I never knew that I had elephant as a power animal until that moment. And it was so incredible.
Yeah.
And another power animal I felt was a gorilla, because you're not supposed to get close to them, only within 6 feet. You can't go within 6 feet, but if they come closer to you, they'll tell you to look down like this, because
Yes.
you want to show that you're subservient.
Right.
But the gorilla, she was sitting next to me in this bush, and she was eating, and she looked at me, and she walked down the hill. The hill was about like this. She got in front of my great niece, and she went, woo, woo. They called her the complainer. My great niece is like this. She came back up. She got even closer to me. And she looked at me and I looked at her, and she just eating. And I'm looking at her, and I felt this incredible bond. And
Yeah.
so it came to me there. That's another power animal. I never knew. I mean, I knew my power animals, but I never knew. So there was a gorilla, an elephant, and a chimpanzee. This little chimpanzee baby got right in front of me and laid down. I'm like, oh my God.
Oh my gosh.
So it's amazing. But the fact that you brought up elephant tonight, and that was a power animal that I really felt strongly about and close to when I was in Africa. So there
Yeah.
you go.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Um, Wonderful. I love that.
I still have an opening for one person to go to Africa, by the way.
Well, I bet you're going to sell it
I
right away
hope.
after.
I've only got till March the 20th to do it. So
Okay. And so they better do it by March 10th because you're going out of town.
correct. That's correct.
So they have 4 days.
When I get back on the
Awesome.
18th.
Yeah. I know, I mean, so many things flash in front of me as you were talking, like we could talk about the paranormal or the things, but I want to also talk about the residual energies. And sometimes though, recently I had a guy call me. I don't know how he got my name. He lives not far in Austin. I'm 20 minutes away. And he said, can you help me? I've got a spirit in my house that shakes my bed, shakes my chair, touches my feet, does all this thing. And when I'm trying to sleep at night. And I thought, well, okay, I'll try this. I'll try. And so it seemed to me, because I have at times I can help spirits move along,
Right,
ones that are very benevolent.
right, right.
Benevolent ones. I'll take on benevolent.
Benevolent, but not malevolent.
There you go. I'll take those on.
Me
But
too.
but this one was a little more of a challenge. And it's so I guess I want to tell people, I think it takes a special training, or you don't want anybody, and just because you're thinking, you want somebody that knows what they're doing to
Right.
work with these kind of spirits.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's why people ask how to do it. I'm like, I can teach it, but if you just got to make sure that that person is really very, very well trained, because a lot of people try it on their own, and it's not so much possession, but you can just make the problem worse. So you got to
Yeah.
be
Yeah. And like even with this man, it only worked for a couple hours and then she was back.
right. Exactly.
So I was like, okay, no, I'm going to refer you on. You got to know when to say, I got my referral list. When,
Here, call this person.
yeah, exactly. So, so what else you got? What else you can think of?
Well, I remember a while ago, this is going, I used to do a lot of work with my friend Linda Petrine, not Linda Grindle, Linda Petrine. She and I used to work on a lot of murder cases together and missing people. And so I got a call from a producer on a television show called Proof Positive. It didn't last very long. And so they asked me, and I met this woman through a police sketch artist, because we used to do a lot of murder cases and missing people, and we'd work with Joy Mann. She was a police sketch artist, and we would describe what we thought the perpetrator looked like, and she would be drawing it. And it was pretty cool. And so we worked on cases, a lot of them. So anyway, she knew somebody who was a producer in LA. So this producer called me and she said, would you be willing to go somewhere and work on something, but we're not going to tell you what it is? And I said, uh, they said it's a TV show called Proof Positive, and essentially, they take a look at certain things, maybe paranormal, and you have to, say just what you're feeling or what you're seeing or sensing. And then at the end, they'll say, is it proof positive? Is it proof negative or proof inconclusive? Okay, fine. But you're going to go somewhere and work on something. And they ask a lot of psychics, some big name psychics that are still big name psychics, whose names I won't go into. Nobody that we know from YouTube, by the way. And none of them would do it. And I said, well, if I'm a psychic, which I am, I should put my money where my mouth is. So I called Linda Petrine and I said, here's what they want us to do. They want us to go somewhere, someplace, work on something. Would you do it for TV? And she goes, yeah, I'll do it. So they told us to go to O'Hare, and weren't smartphones, there were cell phones, but not smartphones. And they said, when you get to O'Hare, call us and we'll tell you what airline to go to. And I said, well, you need to let us know before because O'Hare is big and we need to know what airline we're going to be leaving from because we have to park in that terminal because otherwise we're going to be running all over the place. And they said, okay, park in United Airlines. Okay, so we did. So when we got in, we called and they said, okay, it's this flight number. Okay, fine. So the flight was going to Fort Lauderdale. Okay. Then they asked us what we were wearing. And I've got on a black jacket. Linda's got on this. Linda's got on that. So we're going to Fort Lauderdale. Well, I was nervous about it. And I called my friend Beverly, and Beverly is a psychic. And she says, Mel, don't worry about it. Just go do what you do. Just go do what you do. Okay, fine. So we are on this flight going to Fort Lauderdale. They paid for it. Right before when we landed, the flight attendant came up and she said, would you two please stay on the aircraft until everybody else deplanes? We're like, oh my
Oh, that's
goodness.
interesting.
So the pilot came back. He said, are you Mel and Linda? And we're like, yes. And he said, well, they radioed us and said that when we get off the plane, there's going to be a camera crew out there. Now, this was in the days where you'd have to go through metal detectors, but it wasn't like now. It was before 911. So anyway, we get off the plane and there's this whole camera crew and they're waiting. I'm like, oh my God. I think people thought there were celebrities deplaning. It was just us, right?
Wow.
So, we get we're only there overnight, I think. So, I had a carry on, she had a carry on. So we get outside the airport and we don't know where they're taking us to. They didn't tell us. And there's a camera crew in this van and whatever. So we get to a firehouse and I start walking down the street because I saw like a fire and children dying in the fire.
Mm.
And I said, want me to come back? They said, no, just do whatever you do. No clues at all. They told the paramedics there, the firefighters, they could talk to us, but not anything about the firehouse.
Interesting.
So anyway, we went on a little break and our mics were always on. So they could always hear what we're saying. And I looked at Linda, I said, this place is haunted. And she said, you think? I said, yes, this place is haunted.
Uh-huh.
And one of the producers said, what did you just say? I said, the place is haunted. And I could tell by the look on his face. So I said, okay, let's do a walkthrough. We kept walking through it. And when I got in the hallway, I said, I see an old-fashioned firefighter. He's got an old-fashioned uniform, but I can't see his feet.
Wow.
I don't know why, but I can't see his feet. And he's here to help everybody. And he's telling me the word night. I have no clue what that means. Night, night, night. Okay, fine. So it went on and on and on. So at the end of the day, you know, they finally, after they finished shooting, and it took a long time to shoot, they told us, okay, the reason that we call, oh, and I said he's also sad because it feels like this place is closing, and he's very sad about that. But that he'll still be here protecting the firefighters and the people. Okay, fine. So at the end of the day, they were like, okay, so here's what's going on. Some of the paramedics and firefighters here see this spirit and they feel him in this room. Oh, and I picked out the room. I said, he's right in this room. But I saw him at the end of the hall. And they said his name was Robert Leland Knight.
Oh boy.
And when the firehouse first opened in the 1920s, all right, he wanted to be a firefighter. Maybe it was in the 30s, I forget. But that he was tall. And they showed me a picture that was the exact uniform I saw. And he had big feet. So they didn't have boots big enough to fit his feet, the rubber boots. So they had to order them. So he had gone through his training and everything, and they got called out on a call one night, and it was in the middle of a thunderstorm. And an electric cable had fallen, the electricity was on in a puddle. And when the other firefighter stepped off, they were okay. When he stepped off, because he didn't have the rubber boots, he was electrocuted.
Oh, wow.
His feet, and his
Wow.
feet burned.
Wow.
So that's why I couldn't see his feet.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Um, and the firehouse was closing the next week. And
Uh-huh.
I said, he's sad
Wow.
about that. The other
Wow.
reason I was walking down the street is because there had been a fire there and the mother was passed out and the kids couldn't get out and the
Oh,
children died in the fire. So I
wow.
felt a couple of things that were going on
Yeah.
and it was pretty incredible. And I still think of Robert Leland Knight occasionally. So I'm sure he's still there protecting the firefighters. And now it's a museum and it's moved further down the street. And one of these days, I want to go back to Fort Lauderdale and see it because I just want to see Robert Leland Knight again.
Wow. And now do you feel that his spirit, he was coming in like as a like you're seeing him as a medium. He was not haunting it. He wasn't just
He wasn't haunting it.
he was
He
just
was there to let them know he was protecting them, but
yeah.
he would get their attention. Like they would feel him on the bed, pressure, or
Okay.
they would see him.
I
You know,
see.
some saw him. And then once the day was over, a lot of the firefighters who didn't even believe in spirit were telling me about it. And so it wasn't really a haunting. I think he was there as a protection and just making his presence known. And there was even a write-up about it, and I think in the Miami Sun Star or whatever the paper was, I forget.
Mhm.
So it's pretty cool stuff.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That that's that's really beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, I can see. I
A
can really.
long story, but
Yeah, yeah. Nice. Wow, wow, wow. Well, I mean, I think it brings up the point. Sometimes when we see spirits, they are just like spirits. Like are we when as a medium, we see spirits, our departed loved ones. And
right,
sometimes they do seem to be, even though I can see them sometimes, but they still can be a residual energy. At least I
right,
think.
correct. But I
Yeah.
saw him in my mind's eye and I felt him and I could see it. And I said, can't you all see him? And they're like, no. And there was like a fog. I said, you can't see that? They're like, no. Oh, and it was foggy on the ground that night too, I found out. So
Oh
uh
my gosh. That
uh
that's beautiful, really beautiful. Yeah.
it was cool stuff. Now you have a story about going into the Church of St. Catherine. Was it in Siena or what
Yeah,
was it? I
yeah, in
remember.
Siena. So in on our Italy trip, and
Yes.
first of all, you have to say Italy is a very spiritual place.
Yeah,
All
me too.
kinds. I mean, there's churches. Even though I'm not talking about the religion, I'm talking about people have. There's been a lot of spiritual experiences there.
Right.
Uh, so and everybody's that's just kind of normal. Spirit is normal there. I mean, I remember, my family's from Italy. They're all very. It's all normal stuff. You see ghosts coming across the room, or dishes flying in the air, and nobody else can see them, but they can see them. It's just kind of normal. Well, so we were in. I was in the tour, all of us, in Saint Catherine's Church, and that was in Siena. I'm pretty sure it was Siena. We'll ask Rozier. But
Hi, Rosaire.
yeah, and I just felt out of all the churches, now we went to a lot of churches in Italy, but I felt such a connection there. And I was taking notes copiously. I mean, almost the tour guide, I was really writing down everything. And that's the only place I did that. And for some reason, oh, there's a resonance here with me. And it's like, past life resonance is what I felt like. Okay, I've been here before. Something about this church, something about St. Catherine felt very much like I knew St. Catherine. So now we're looking at her and the whole story. She did a lot for the people of the town, and she went to help fight to prevent fighting, and she went to Rome, and she ended up dying in Rome, and the people of Siena wanted her back. But Rome would only send the Vatican would only send this was around, by the way, around 1300 around. Okay, it could be 1200, 1400. So in those days, but they sent back a finger and her head, and they saved that at the church. And so it was kind of crazy, right? Kind of creepy. But I'm still taking notes and I'm looking, oh my God, this is so weird, right? A finger and a head. But then I hear St. Catherine. She's on my corner.
I got to watch it.
She's on my shoulder. And she's following me around. I mean, it was a very strong presence everywhere I went. There she was. And she just kept saying, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And oh my, and even as we were leaving, thank you. And I felt like she was walking with me in the town, even after that. So then, so there's something about St. Catherine and something about that church. There's got to be something for me in that as a soul remembrance. Now, um, I was at dinner. I think it was the next night or two. I can't remember. One of those after. And I was sitting across from Rosie, our friend Rosier. And
I
she,
remember this. This was incredible.
it
I
was,
was right next to you, I think.
yeah, you were right next to me, and you had an angel, you had a white angel on your shoulder. We were talking about your cancer diagnosis. I said, oh, there's a white and gold angel here. It's all fine. I just remember it's all fine. But then I'm talking, Rosier, she said, Kim, St. Catherine's here with us.
I remember that. It's almost like she was in a trance. I remember that
In a
so
trance.
well.
And I saw with her, I saw Mary. I think it was Mary Magdalene. I saw somebody with her. And then Rosier and I are looking at each other like, oh, well, here you are. We knew we're meeting up again, aren't we? We've known each other back in 1300s, and here we are again having dinner and talking and she knew. And she said, Kim, I think you were St. Catherine. Now, I don't think that I was St. Catherine. What I think, honestly, is that I just knew her, that could have been a sister or a cousin or somebody in the family. Not that I was, not
I'll
that
tell
I'm,
you what I picked up, but go ahead.
okay, go ahead now. So yeah, so there's that. And, but we both knew that we knew each other. And it was how, I mean, that dinner table was powerful with
Oh, I was there. I witnessed that. You all had to be there. I mean, the energy shifted.
yeah,
And I wouldn't say it was intense. It was intense, but in a good sort of way. It
yes,
wasn't bad intense. It was just like you could feel it vibrating almost. It was like, wow.
it
And I'm
was.
eating my buco, and it was like, and Rosera's husband was sitting across from me, and we were talking, but I was hooked into that energy. It was like, whoa.
Right, right. And I mean, I could feel all the Marys above her. So there was a whole conversation between the spirits and us and where we came from and how we got to
I
meet
think the
each
reason you were taking copious notes in that church was because I wrote down here, in a past life, you were a scribe.
other. Uh-huh.
And the only educated people in those days were the scribes, the priest, and some of the nuns. And it was unusual because you were a female, which was kind of unheard of, but you could write, and you were writing things,
Uh-huh.
like a scribe. And I think that I don't know what order St. Catherine was, but I don't know if she was in a convent, but she was like a sister because you were in the convent with her.
Uh-huh. That makes sense to me. That makes total sense.
And you both had a devotion to Our Lady, the
Uh-huh.
Blessed Mother. So that's why I think Rosaire was picking that up,
Yes, yes,
and Mary Magdalene as well. But
yeah.
you were very educated. I can see you writing. And in fact, because of the poor lighting, it affected your eyes. So that, and you died young in that life. You died probably in your uh, 30s, and you were very well liked, but your vision was bad. But it feels like you had what they called in those days consumption, and it was tuberculosis. So that's what you died of.
Mm. Oh, interesting. Thank you for saying that. Yeah, but yeah, but isn't that, but I know I knew her. It's so clear to me.
Well, you did. You guys
Yeah.
were really close.
Yeah, and she died young too. She was in her 30s as well.
I didn't
Early.
know that. I really didn't know that.
Yeah, so we were probably about the same age.
Wonder what she died of. They
You
don't
know,
know probably.
you know what? I wonder if she died of TB. Oh, no, 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 no. She would fast for like months. I mean, she lived off of honey and tea. She barely ate. And that, so I don't know. There's something around that. I forget now
Probably
exactly.
electrolyte imbalance or something.
Yeah, yeah. But that was, yeah. So that was one of my, like, oh wow, this place is special. And everyone's looking at me like, why are you taking so many notes?
That's why you can do that carryover. That just hit me. I'm like, yeah, my light bulb went on.
Yeah, but she was walking
No,
out as we were in the city. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah.
oh,
So
no, no, no. It's a great story. It's true too.
yeah, yeah.
Um, I went to Italy when I was 42. I'll be 70 this month on March 22nd. But anyway, when I went, I think I was 41 or 42. But my friend Miria, she watches. Hi, Miria, Miria in Florida. her nephew Fable. Um, I'd never been to Europe. That was my first time. I think it was in 1994 or 1995. And it was to Italy. And Mia had a place in Civitavecchia. That means old city. It's on the Mediterranean. It's outside of Rome. I think it's all Provincia di Roma. But anyway, Fable, he was in law school. He took us to Rome and showed us everything. But I remember he took us to this church. And in ancient Rome, it had been the baths of, I think, Nero. And then it was, the ruins, they built a church on top of it. And that's the church where they have the shackles, a part of the shackles of St. Peter when he was crucified upside down. They have them there. But when Fable took us there was a statue of Michelangelo's Moses. And I love Michelangelo. I think I knew him in a past life. And then
Mhm.
I remember there was this archway and a stairway that you go down to this other street below. So we took a golf cart tour. It's kind of neat. And the driver, Mimo, on this past trip to Italy, it was funny. He took us to the Pantheon, which I had never been to, but there were six of us on the golf cart. And I said, Mimo, now I felt Fable's spirit. It was so strong. And he said, ask him to take you to the church where we saw Michelangelo's Moses and the Church of St. Ignatius. And so I said, where is Michelangelo's Moses? He goes, oh, we go there, no problem. So we go there, and I felt Fable's spirit so strong. And there's an archway where the steps go down to that street. I could just feel him there. And so I went into the church and I saw Michelangelo's Moses. It was exactly as I remembered. And I could just feel Fable standing beside me. And he goes, remember when we did this? And I said, yes. And then he said, walk down the stairs. And there was a crowd of people, but I wanted to get a picture. And I said, okay, Fable, let them move out of the way so I can get my picture. And at that moment, they moved over and I got my picture.
Oh my gosh.
And so I walked down that arch. I said, can I just walk down there? And I walked back up. And there was another place, I can't think of the name of it, Piazza. Um, I can't think of the name of it, but anyway. So a lot of the things that Fable showed us, I would ask the driver to show us. And it was just incredible. So I felt his spirit with me that entire day.
That's amazing.
And I told my friend Miri, I said, Fable was with me. So that was
Yes.
another Italy story.
Wow. So see how the spirit world knows what we're doing. You
Absolutely.
didn't call them up, hey, I'm going over here. They
Absolutely.
it's
It was
connected.
incredible. And Fable and he came to Chicago, he visited me and bring me a rosary. And I remember I had a camera when I went to Italy. It was a Minolta. And it was like you could press it and they didn't have like a LED screen, but the viewfinder and it would autofocus. And he just kept talking about that camera, talking about that camera. And I hadn't had it long. So when I left Italy, I said, Fable, I want you to have this camera. And I was thinking of that camera, and Miria told me that he kept that camera up until the time he died. He still had that camera.
Wow.
So,
Wow. That's beautiful. Oh
yeah.
my goodness.
So
That's beautiful. It's so lovely to have your family and friends travel with you, isn't it?
it is. It is. I mean,
Yeah.
he was so good to me. He showed us everywhere. Uh, and so now I'm going to go to Italy again someday, and I'll go back to Pompeii because he showed us everything there, and his spirit is just leading me there. So
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, and so also imagine he's doing what he loved on earth. He's still doing it in the spirit world.
correct,
That's
exactly.
that's even more beautiful.
Um,
Yeah. Wow. So I have one other story I can share if you want.
okay, go ahead.
Okay, so this is it's kind of a haunted ship. The it's called St. Mary's. It's a big ship off of Los Angeles actually, and
Yes,
you can stay there as in the room, and
yes,
they've
it
got
is supposed to be haunted. Actually, is it Queen
yeah,
Elizabeth? The Queen Elizabeth,
That's it. Is it Queen Elizabeth or Queen Mary?
Queen Mary, the Queen
I think
Mary. It
it's
was
Queen
the
Mary.
largest passenger ship for a long time. It
Yes,
haunted. But
it is
you tell
haunted.
your story. And I got a story. registered something, but go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So I did a mediumship retreat there. It was a great place to do a mediumship retreat.
On the Queen Mary?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
that's right. You can stay on. It's like a hotel now.
yeah. Little hotels. And I ne before that, I'd never really seen ghosts or anything. And so, but the thing is, they're all over the place there. Now,
Oh yeah.
I mean, they're everywhere, every corner, every room. You go get your hair cut, you get a massage. You see the little people walking around, the big people, the little people, the every shape, size, dogs, cats, whatever. They're all there. And I wonder though, this is what I wonder, Mel. Um, when we go there as a tourist thing, I believe we might be attracting them to keeping them there. There's some of that. And there's also,
I never thought of that. You're probably right.
yep, it's entertainment for them and they're going to stay around. But also some of it could be also just residual. Like if you see the same thing over and over, that may be just a residual. So it's hard to tell.
If you see the same thing over and over, then it is residual. It's like a it's like a loop that keeps
Yeah,
playing.
loop, that's it.
Right.
It's a loop. It's a residual. So that doesn't mean the spirit is actually just still hanging out. It's just residual energy. Um, Now, and we did, I think it was one of the last days or so, when we were doing our mediumship, we were finding spirits to help cross over.
Wow.
And then, yeah, it was fun. That was, it was, it was magical in a certain way, but some of it was kind of like, okay, I'm not too, I don't like to go into scary. I'm
No.
not, but anyway, I felt like we actually did help people cross over because we could see them go.
Oh yeah, you can see
Yeah,
them. You can see them go.
I can
Absolutely.
see them go, but there were so many. So I wonder really what's residual, and maybe we don't have to know.
Well, if you cross them over and you can see them go, that wasn't residual. The
Yeah,
residual is like a loop. It's like a
right.
tape recording that keeps, it'll just keep playing over and over. So a lot of people see the same thing. It just plays over and over again.
Yes, yes, yes. I could not sleep there very well though. I remember I was up, I was thinking, okay, who's going to be coming in my room? I really didn't get much sleep.
Well, it's because you were probably sensitive to it. I'd probably fall out, you know. When Gary and I stayed in the supposedly haunted hotel up in Milwaukee, I said I did get a good night's sleep. In the hallway, I felt a presence, but
Oh,
I got a good night's sleep. Anyway, I was doing a show years ago called Macabre Theater. A friend of mine out in San Clemente, he was a producer. And I remember that Natalie, I can't think of her TV name, but it was kind of like an Elvira kind of thing. And what it would do is they had Butch Patrick, Eddie Munster, he was grown, but he would like be the narrator, and then they would show scary movies. And so, they called me the mystic of the macabre. So we were in a hotel room, and what they would do is there was a green screen behind me, so I can't wear anything green. And they were like, "Okay, Mel, we're gonna go shoot some stuff at the Queen Mary, and then we're gonna shoot some stuff at the Pickfair Mansion before it was torn down, or whatever they did to it. So do you think you could do a lead-in for us?" And I said, "Yeah." And they said, "Well, here, read this about the Queen Mary." And I read it, and they said, "Do you want it for the script?" I said, "No, it's just a cold read. Let me just do it off the top of my head." I had never been to the Queen Mary. So I'm like, "Hi, I'm Mel Doerr, mystic of the macabre. Today we're at the Queen Mary, and legend has it that spirits roam the halls of this ship. Come join us on this." And it was really kind of weird. I had
is it-
never been there. When you said the Queen Mary, I'm like, whoa, it reminded me of that thing I did.
oh, that's great. I love that.
Yeah, I did it cold. They gave me the little stuff. And, in those days, I had a memory like a steel trap. Now it's a wire mesh. And then it was another one. "Hi, I'm Mel Doerr, mystic of the macabre. Today we're at the Pickfair Mansion. Join us as we take a tour of this, whatever. You might see the spirit of none other than Douglas Fairbanks," or whatever, it was like, um,
Interesting.
but I'd never been to those places.
Yeah, very interesting. Yeah. What do you think about houses having spirits, their own spirit?
What?
A house. having their own spirit. Have you? I have my opinion about it because I think they do. I think they can.
I think they can, maybe for some reason the person wants to stay in that house, or they were attached to the land where it was built, and maybe they just want to stay there. They don't want to go to the light. Maybe they still want to own it and just kind of oversee it. And you know, I
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think it's a poltergeist or anything bad. I mean, if some jerk moved in there, they might try to do some stuff to get rid of the jerk. But
Right, right.
I do feel that absolutely.
Yeah, because I mean, I've seen a few times where this, let's say, when people have lived in a house that maybe had a lot of emotional issues, maybe they were very sad or had a lot of grief or depression or something, you can, the family that comes in next, or even the visitors, will feel that those feelings,
Now
you know.
that could be residual energy as well.
Yes, yes. One time though, when I worked with somebody who she was just busy and she was pet sitting at a house. She said, I can't stay here because I mean, I'm feeling all this depression in this house. And so then I worked with her and I felt like the house had a spirit. And I had that spirit go to the light. And she said, you know what? It's gone. It's like I can sleep now. Right. But I even in my other house, when back in Portland, somehow I knew or found out, or I don't remember even how this happened, but there was a spirit that would be, it was a woman's spirit. I called her Sylvia, between the two, my son and daughter's bedrooms downstairs. And there was like a pole here. It's like where she hung out there to guard the kids.
Wow.
And nobody, it was not a spirit and not a family member at
It was
all.
starting the kids.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's funny when Gary and I were in Savannah, we did a haunted tour. It was fun. But I said, we're going to go visit these houses. And I forget the name of it, but the movie in the Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil, that was based on a true story. I don't know if there was a Mercer House. I've got it in my notes somewhere. I got to look it up. But I remember going on a tour in that house. And I think that it was in the 1970s. The guy that owned it, he was an art dealer and he was high society. And he was having an affair with a younger man and he shot him and the guy died. And then the perpetrator goes, forgot his name, but he goes to a hoodoo, which is lowland voodoo woman. And, she supposedly, I don't know, she casts spells. She casts spells. And in the movie, there's only one trial, but really there were four. And finally he was acquitted. But we were in the house. On the movie, it shows him dying in the study. But, I had seen the movie years before, but we were in the house, we were in the hallway and the foyer. And I told Gary and I told the tour guide, I said, I am getting these incredibly horrible feelings right here. I don't know what happened, but it was almost like I was nauseated and I
Yeah.
felt a spirit just hanging around. And I'm
Oh,
like, you
yeah.
gotta go. And
Yeah.
I said, what happened here? And they said, this is where the guy died of a heart attack, right in this spot, right where I was standing.
Wow.
And that wasn't residual energy. That was his spirit I was feeling. And I thought that the spirit was really stuck to that house. I was convinced it was.
I see. Wow. Ooh. Okay. Here's something that's kind of scary. Um, I was at a nursing home. I was in a nursing home. I was seeing a hospice
I used
patient.
to work in one.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I was visiting one. I mean, as a nurse, for a hospice patient. And and down the hall, well, there was like four hallways, but one hallway was where I was going, and I saw three black. I mean, with my eyes open, black entities coming down the hall, and look, they looked like ravaging. I mean, they were like trying. They were going in room to room like that, fast, fast. And I like, oh my God, I just got so scared, and I got away. I went to the nurse's station. I hid. I said, hey, you guys, what's going on down that hall? I talked to the other staff. What's going on down there? And they hadn't really noted, they didn't see the spirits. All they said was, well, we can't keep any plants alive and people are losing their minds there. They're having
Oh,
a lot more mental illness. And it's a bad this hallway, they couldn't figure it out. But then I said, well, I see why. I see why.
You do.
And so I went down to talk to the manager. Now, little old me, little Miss Nursey, can I talk to you? I think there's some spirits in the hall.
How
And
much what she been drinking?
but thank goodness, well, because this is Portland, Oregon, everybody's kind of normal like me. Well, I say everybody, about half and half, normal like me. And I said, I think they're spirits there. And she said, oh, well, let's see if we can release them. Because she said, I'm a Reiki master. Now, does that give her any credentials for releasing spirits? I don't
No,
think so.
none. No.
No, does
It's
not.
like that's like a podiatrist trying to do brain surgery. It doesn't work.
It does, but it did help, honestly. But
Good.
you know, the problem is, they followed. I feel like it followed somebody home.
Oh,
That was
probably did.
it. Did yeah, yeah, yeah. So, but at least the hallway got better.
That's good. Somebody else got an attachment, but the hallway got better.
Isn't that crazy though?
Not in my world, it's not crazy.
No, I know, but I don't see that too much. Maybe one other time I saw similar. This is very short. I was going to teach my son poker. That seems benign to me,
Well, I
but
learned to play poker when I was a kid. My grandmother let us stay home from school, and she's if you be good, you can stay home from school. We'll play poker. I was like, I got in trouble because the teacher asked who could count. I think I was in first or second grade. I go ace, deuce, trey, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, jack, queen, king. That's how I
that's,
learned to count.
that's great. Well, yeah, so I was getting the cards out. I was going to teach my son, he's about 12ish. Okay, we're going to play 5 card, whatever, draw, stud, or something. Okay, so we're sitting at the kitchen, the dining room table, and I have glass, like sliding glass door there. And as soon as I got the cards out with that intention is everything. Here comes a black spirit. Not bad, not like in that nursing home, but a small black thing came through the glass window and sat right there at the. Oh my gosh, I saw something just now. I saw at the like watching us at the table, and I was like, okay, we're putting the cards away. No, no more poker. I'm never playing poker again. Forget
Uh,
it. No more poker.
we just play in another room. That's all.
You have to be
Like
real.
the room I'm sitting in right now, my mother's in spirit. She used to come and visit me, and she called this her room. She'd say, "Get my room ready." And one time she woke me up. She said, were you walking around last night? I said, no, Ma, I was in bed. She goes, did you close the door of the bedroom? I go, no, I was in bed. And she goes, oh, I bet there's spirits in this house. And she was serious. I said, probably, I live here. What does that tell you? And every time she would come, she would experience something like that. So this room I'm in, my mother used to stay in this room. She would come and visit. So I feel her presence in this room. That's why sometimes I'll do them downstairs in the dining room, some of my YouTube stuff, but most of the time now I'm doing them here in this room.
Interesting. Did she feel spirits in other places too?
Um, sh- I think, yeah, she might say it, but here she was really adamant. There's a spirit here. And I said, well, I said, it can't be bad. And she
Right.
said, "No, it's not bad." She said, I like it. So it's
Oh
like,
yeah, I
okay.
felt like it's her dad maybe or something.
Could be grandma,
Mom.
might have been, or grandma. Uh,
Mhm, mhm.
that
Interesting.
just hit me too. I bet it was grandma. We say grandma in the South or grandpa. Probably.
Hmm. Now, Nana. Yeah. Good.
My
Um,
grandmother, she didn't, no, we couldn't call her grandmother. She'd say, my name's grandma. Okay, grandma.
oh, well, my grandmothers would say, no, you're not calling me grandma. You're calling me my first name because I'm not too young to be a grandmother.
Oh no, I called my grandmother by her first name once, and she said, boy, don't you ever call me by my first name again. I'm grandma, and don't you ever forget it. I'm like, okay.
My other grandma was fine. It's so interesting. Both of them did not want to be old. It's a long
Oh, my
story.
grandma, she didn't, she was funny. Oh, good. Wait, you know what? Oh, I've got a picture of my grandmother right here.
Oh, I want to see.
So right here, the one in the back, that is my grandmother.
Oh,
And
yes.
and those are her brothers and sisters. This is
Oh,
Louis. This is Uncle Orville. That's Grandma. That's Uncle Jim. And this is Aunt Mamie. And it's funny, my mother gave me this, and that's her handwriting on the back.
Oh my gosh, that's great.
Isn't that
Oh,
cool?
yeah,
So
that is.
that's my grandmother.
Yes,
She
that's
had a crazy sense of humor. One time when I was a kid, I used to, you had the Christmas savings, the Christmas club, you put a little money away every your allowance every week, and you put like maybe a quarter or 50 cents a week, and at Christmas time you had your Christmas money to buy people presents. So I said, Grandma, I want to buy you a bra. I was just a kid. I said, what size do I get you? She says, oh, damn boy, just buy me a parachute.
parachute.
Because she was big chested. And I took her serious. I said, Mama, we got to get a parachute for Grandma because she told me to get her a parachute. My mother goes, for what? I said, because I told her I wanted to buy her a bra. My mother was like, no.
Oh, that's too funny. Yeah.
So I'm sure Grandma's spirit's here because my sense of humor is revving up.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. No, I feel for sure. And I feel dogs in there too.
Oh, well,
You had
that's
at least
radar.
three?
That's radar that where my
Okay.
thumb was pointing. She
Yeah.
was only 6 and she passed away. My mother passed away in 2016. And 6 months later, our dog died and a couple of cousins died. And I
Okay.
was going into a deep depression. And I was in bed one night in the bedroom and I saw Radar's tail was curved like that. And I saw her tail. And Mama came through and something said, look, look on the computer. I didn't have a computer, but I went on my cell phone and I don't know how I came across, but it was Chicago Canine Rescue. And they rarely get puppies. They get older dogs. And they had 5 puppies from a high kill shelter in Kentucky.
Wow.
I went to see Lucky, the dog we have now, her sister, and Lucky took my heart. Didn't think I was going to get her. And I couldn't think of a name. And I was talking to my sister. My sister said, well, you're lucky to have her. She's from Kentucky. How about Lucky from Kentucky? So that was Radar. And over here, this is my dog Gizmo. See her
Yeah.
behind me? You
Yes,
can't
I
see
do.
her. Yep.
Yeah.
She was a beagle and she had attitude. And I used to have to put duct tape on the refrigerator because her and the other beagle wizard would open the refrigerator door and eat up the 2 bottom shelves of the refrigerator.
Oh my gosh.
And I
That's
had to put the dining room chairs real close in because if I didn't, she'd jump on the chair and get on the table and try to get food. And I used to tell Gary, don't leave fruit on the table because fruit bowl on the table, because if you do, the dog will get up there and eat it. He goes, oh no, she won't do that. He said he came home one day and he heard something rustling around the kitchen. He looked, it was a glass top dining room table. She was on the dining room table and he had avocados in this fruit bowl and a pineapple. There was avocado smeared all over the table. And Gizmo looked at him like, caught. She couldn't figure out how to get down. She had it all over her mouth. Then when he looked at the pineapple, now you know what a pineapple skin is like, right? He said he showed it to me, there were bite marks taken out of the pineapple. She was trying to eat that.
Oh my gosh.
She was a piece of work, but that's Gizmo.
But so
And
the
then,
three, that's what I
and then
feel.
that's in the middle. Huh?
Three dog spirits there with you.
Okay, so that would be Gizmo, Radar, and Wizard.
Okay. Yeah, it's with your grandmother and your mom.
Oh, okay. Well, that could be my mother's beagle too. His name was Caswell, and she loved that dog. And she loved my dog Radar. She used to beg me for my dog Radar. I'd be like, Mom, you can't have my dog. And so Radar crossed into spirit 6 months after Mom did. So I said, okay, Mom, I know the dog's with you. And I'm
Yeah.
sure they sent me this dog Lucky. So
Wow. That's so wonderful.
my friend just later on in life, she just tried to sit down and draw and she wanted to do with pencil. And she did. And she said, Mel, send me some photos. And I sent her one of Radar, one of me, and one of Gizmo. And she drew those and she did a great job on them.
Wow. Beautiful.
One's crooked
Nice.
there. I got to straighten it out, but
Oh, yeah. Beautiful. Well, Mel, this has been fun. Anything else you can think of before we close?
we got to do this again. I could go on all night
I
long with
bet you could.
that.
I
I,
bet you you've been around the world a few times.
well, yeah, I've got a lot of spirit stories. So
Yeah.
let's do this again because I
I have
really
spirit
enjoyed
stories
this.
too, different spirit stories as well. I don't know about place story, but yes, Okay, we'll do it. Yep.
Right.
Thank you.
Uh,
All right, and
we
you have a
won't,
good trip.
thank you. Yeah, we won't be able to do it next week because I'll be in St. Croix, but when I get back, we'll do it. How's that?
Okay, that sounds good.
All right,
Perfect.
so
All right.
love
Bye.
you. All
Bye.
right. Bye bye.